Reality Observation Report.
And we are recording.
I always get a little giddy hearing it. I know. At the very beginning.
It's so funny. I love that. I've been trying to figure out, because I was just farting around when I made that sound, and I can't find it. And I've been trying to get it.
I think
again.
that's the coolest part.
Yeah. And then, but I can't. I know I made it. I did it on my Prophet synthesizer, but I can't find the patch, which is unfortunate because I want to use it for different songs.
Every time I hear the intro and then we go into talking, I feel like I'm first person living the podcast, and then I really am.
Then you're like, wait, I'm the one that's talking.
Yeah, it's like I'm listening to myself, but right now.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I think this time last week we had 50 listeners.
That's awesome.
Total, and now there's 75.
Wow.
So I'm totally happy with 20. I just hope, we always talk about if they're repeat customers, I guess.
Yeah.
But I hope they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I've noticed in California that one keeps growing. Kansas and Missouri keeps growing. But yeah.
Yeah.
And we are now on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome.
And reality or podcast.com. And iTunes and Spotify. So we are 4 things across. I'm going to do a Facebook one for it, but I just don't. I want to kind of keep the audience like a I don't know, curate the audience, not make it available, not necessarily not make it available to everyone, but and not put a restriction on it. But I don't know how I'm going to go about that yet.
Yeah, I know that because when I try to look into doing Facebook stuff, just have a page.
Yeah.
Like about like, okay, here's where all my art's going to be. You have to have an account for yourself. I'm just like, fuck it. I don't want to do that.
Right. Well, I just don't want, I don't know, there's certain aspects about Facebook that I don't like, and I don't want, people don't search as much on Facebook as they do Twitter or Instagram. I feel that it's not as organic. Whereas on Instagram, you go on, you can, or Twitter, you can go on and type in conspiracy theory. Then you have a list of stuff. Whereas Facebook, you type it in, and it's, I don't think that it's as, the search engine is as good as Twitter or Instagram. I mean, I put up the Instagram today, and we got already 10, 15 followers, stuff like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know on Instagram you can just do the hashtags and search for stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just going to, after every episode, I'm just going to put a screenshot of the Spotify or whatever on there, and just, because our website is the link in the bio, and just say, hey, go to our link in the bio.
That's cool.
About whatever topics we're discussing.
So everybody should follow us on every single social media channel that we have.
Yeah.
And then listen and follow and like and comment.
Yeah, please like, comment, review if you're listening to this, people. But yeah, it's fun. I try to do all this research during the week, and this week I didn't do as much research because I don't want to come into it with a biased opinion or facts that regurgitate facts or things that I've already known. But when I went on the float trip this week, and I had some good conversations with some family members, some of them are actually pretty in tune to, the topics that we talk about. Extracurricular thinking beyond the boring, enslaved glass box that you can't look outside of, thought process that most people have.
Maybe, I was thinking, like, I wonder if that was the reason why I was just kind of in a funk. It's just like, when I go back, I don't have my roommate to talk to or you to talk to. So I just have, like, oh, the weather sure is humid out here today, isn't it? Like that sort of stuff. I'm like, yeah, it is.
People at work all the time are like, man, it's hot outside. I'm just like, you don't have to say anything to me. Just say something else. What's your favorite band? Don't just say some stupid generic conversation starter.
Yeah.
It's not very, but I guess people don't know if you're an intellectual or think about things in depth as we do. Would you consider that that's what we are, intellectuals, or is it more?
I would say so, yeah. Because our ideas aren't like, because what we'll do is actually research things. Like I want to know the fabric of reality, so I actually just got a new quantum mechanics book. So I just want to know about quantum mechanics and
Right.
understand that stuff.
Wait, which book?
It's called What Is Real?
Oh, okay.
By, I think his name's Adam Becker,
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken. I haven't started reading that one yet because I'm going to read How to Change Your Mind first and then go to this one. But and then I just immediately found some other stuff too that I want. Like the new book that I want to read is called I haven't ordered anything yet, but it's called Your Mind or Your Memory is a Time Machine. That one sounds
Ooh.
really interesting. So I would say that we're more intellectual than just
Yeah.
make up, because you can always tell somebody who, like you said, you like to do research before you discuss a topic, but you can always tell those people who just regurgitate shit.
Right. Right.
It's like a kind of a stale thought.
Facts aren't really interesting to me. I mean, facts surrounding what we discuss are, and that sort of thing, but facts aren't really. I like more of the philosophical, free-form discussion of things, not just your brain is this color. It
Yeah.
fires this neutron or this proton and that sort of thing. I would rather hear. I've been listening to a lot of Eckhart Tolle lectures, Terrence McKenna lectures, Maharishi Yogi, the guy with the transcendental meditation. A lot of that kind of stuff, which I like. Kind of rhetoric, I guess, is what you would call it. Speeches, kind of just speaking the word.
Yeah.
That stuff interests me more than scientific or even historical facts. Even though I appreciate the scientific or historical facts, I'm trying to finish that biocentrism book, and there's got a lot of scientific and facts in that, which sometimes I have to double read.
You get lost into
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
But maybe next time when somebody says, "Sure is warm outside," be like, "That's relative." Let's see what they say.
Is it warm?
I was actually thinking about that today because I dropped something. I was cooking some chicken and I dropped something in the pan and I grabbed a napkin and touched it and I was like, "Oh shit, that actually burns." Then I was thinking, does it? Because like that's the narrative that I give,
Right.
that sort of feeling. When I started really thinking about it, is that this entity. Because like if you touch something and then it's cold and your hand moves away, or it's hot and it moves away, that was like a involuntary reaction. You just immediately just did that.
Right.
It's like something's operating me more so than what
Your
I think.
brain.
Yeah.
It's a synapse fire in your brain. Your hand tells it it's hot, so then it pulls it away.
And then you register it like, "God damn, that was hot."
Right. And your finger's already burning, so it's too late. So your brain is behind. Or maybe your body's behind? I
No,
don't
your
know.
body, because your body pulls away quicker than you think about it. Unless
Yeah.
your hand's numb, and then you'll just cook your hand.
Right. If you don't, if your pain, God, why is it doing that? If your pain receptor doesn't kick in, there's a disease actually. I don't know what it's called. I heard a story about it long ago, but where that sort of synapse or that feeling, some people don't have it. And it was a story of this little girl that she was in her kitchen or something and had her hand on a burner on the oven, and it was just cooking her hand, and she didn't feel it, and her mom was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's kind of like a real life superhero, but I wouldn't want that, because if something hurts, then
You'd never know.
right.
But see, the thing I don't understand about that one is, do you not feel anything? Because if you're born with it, you would have no idea. Because like right now, if you just all of a sudden just lost all your feeling, like, "Oh, okay, it feels numb." We've all felt like kind of a numb
Right.
feeling.
Well, I don't think the girl felt anything. I think her mom saw her hand
Yeah.
smoking.
I mean, like, what does her body feel like then? Like operating in that body, just not being able to feel the couch that you're sitting on, the shoes you're wearing,
Yeah.
the clothes are on you.
Maybe when she came over from the other side and entered this body, some things got lost in the some density, whatever density she came from.
I think that is a superhero, isn't it? Like I can't remember his name is.
Is it in X-Men?
No, it's I don't remember who did that. It's a movie. Remember he didn't have any nerve endings?
I don't know.
Or not nerve endings, but he couldn't feel anything. Who's the dude that played in Die Hard?
Bruce Willis?
Yeah, he was in the movie.
Sin City?
No, I think it was like Unbreakable or something on.
Like the M. Night Shyamalan?
Yeah. What is that? Is that what his power? I never seen it. I just heard
He
about
plays a person. They're actually coming out with the third one. I think it's a sequel. They just came out with a newer one last year, or 2 years ago.
That had Professor Xavier in it, right?
I don't
The
even
guy
remember.
that plays him, some McCoy at McCoy or something.
Yes. But yeah,
It's weird. I know my uncle. I don't know if it's true or not, but my mom said when she was growing up, her mother, so my grandmother, would beat her brother, younger brother. Not like not beat, but it's just when he got in trouble because it was a different time. She would like spank him until he cries, but he doesn't have tear ducts, so he never cried.
wow,
I was like, how does his eyes
that would
stay
be weird
moist?
as fuck.
Right? Just like you're crying, but no tears are coming out of it. Like a dry cry.
That would suck for later in life when you're
Yeah.
trying to fake cry to keep your girlfriend, and that trick where the guy cries and hopefully the girl's like, oh, it's okay, baby, that you had sex with that other woman. But for him, he never got to do that excuse.
I feel like it's the opposite, because I feel like if a girl sees a dude cry, you become small. Like
It depends on what kind of woman it is.
Yeah.
An understanding woman, or actually, I don't know, to be honest.
Hey, we're always brought up to dudes don't cry.
Right. Why is that?
I don't know. I guess maybe it's a sign of weakness, and men aren't supposed to be weak.
Yeah. Such a primal cliche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That startled me. I didn't know what was going on.
We've been infiltrated. That would be. I've been watching a lot of these alien documentaries and stuff on Gaia.com, and all with interviews with that Corey Good guy and Emery Smith that I told you about last week. And apparently the guy David Wilcock, who runs this kind of little interview, it's called Cosmic Disclosure, and he's the interviewer, and then those other two guys are some of the interviewees, and they're talking about how they worked with aliens and this deep government stuff and all that sort of thing. Well, apparently this guy quit. The interviewer quit, and there's some, I don't know really what's going on. It's kind of unsure. It sounds like he's mad at them. I guess he's been doing this news show, and they edited his words to almost make it sound that he was a Luciferian believer or some crazy shit like that. So he's like, I'm done. And I think there's some other lawsuit going on with that Corey guy. Just a lot of weird stuff, but it's just kind of odd, because when I read that and I was in the midst of all these things, God, why does it do that? In the midst of all these things that I've been researching and reading about, sometimes I kind of get this little paranoid feeling that I'm going to stumble upon a nugget of information, and it's going to like trigger something in the cloud, and I'm going to start getting followed or something.
Yeah, I have a certain level of paranoia as well.
Yeah.
But mine's not about aliens and researching stuff. Mine's just that I'm being observed constantly.
Well, I feel that if you're doing research into all this kind of, I don't know, I've been trying to think of a word to classify it. I don't want to say archaic knowledge, or what's like forbidden knowledge that will make you be yourself and give you your own identity and kind of make you shed the ego in which this culture and this state of the world helped sculpt you into, shedding your cocoon or shedding your shell. And I feel that within all of that, someone somewhere can sense that, if there is a deep state government,
I always feel like two types of people who, if they're monitoring them, they're just confused, and I'm like, what the fuck are they looking at? One is artists, is like, okay, they have to research. This guy's looking at, the dude figure for a while, and then he switches over to a tree, and now he's going to buildings, and now he's going to a female figure. Like, what is going on with this guy?
Right.
And then comedians. It's like they research like the craziest shit in order to like make some sort of
crazy topics.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what are these people into?
Yeah.
Like, immediately on the watch list.
Yeah, because if they want to make a joke about kiddie porn, they type that into Google, and it's definitely a red flag, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
With Trump highly against that sort of thing, taking down that whole
like kitty cats.
Yeah, that whole underground child porn, whatever, that nationwide sting that no one ever talked about. But yeah, I kind of get paranoid because I feel that I'm slowly creeping on to what I'm looking for, which is better understanding of myself and all of this. But I think that's just that's a little self-arrogant, to be honest. The more I think about it, because it's kind of saying, "Oh, I'm getting to that point where you're thinking highly of yourself and that sort of thing," and I don't like that feeling.
I didn't used to research a lot of stuff when I was younger, but I drank a lot of Dr. Pepper. And when I drank a lot of Dr. Pepper, I would always feel like somebody is watching me. I don't know. It's only
all the
Dr.
caffeine
Pepper.
and shit that was in there.
I think so.
All the 23 ingredients or whatever it is.
Yeah, one of them's MK Ultra.
Yeah. I always drank Dr. Thunder, which was the Aldi brand. I think it was so good though.
I don't. Growing up, my mom would always just get name brand shit all the time. So I didn't live that struggle of not name brand stuff.
I preferred it. I liked the non-name brand stuff. It had something about it that was tasted better, tasted different. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that why I feel that way too is because I feel that I'm tapping into something that you almost get like a sense of like, oh, this is bad. Kind of like you're doing drugs.
Yeah.
Drugs are illegal, and breaking outside of the norm, or that search for this sort of thing, or your imagination just starts to go with it, and you feel like you're doing something bad.
Yeah, mine isn't. The paranoia that I have, like being observed, isn't the one where like, okay, I'm researching a bunch of stuff I'm gonna stumble upon like yours. Mine is just like, all right, you've been had. We know that like you're not a real human, or just something,
Right.
Maybe not real human, but just you're kind of a fraud, and the life that you're living.
You
know what I'm
are?
saying? Yeah. Like I just live like a fraud life. Like you're actually not real nice to people. I'm like, I really am nice to people. Like that stuff.
Yeah.
You're just saying everything the opposite I am, and just like shackle me away.
Yeah, I get paranoid sometimes that people don't like me or that I did something wrong. But I think that that's just another narcissistic, not narcissistic in a super bad way, but kind of like an egotistical feeling a little bit, because that then puts the thought in your head that you're that important, that someone is affected that much by what you do. Obviously if you crashed into their car and didn't tell them and they suspected you, it's like one thing. If there's some sort of reason in your head to create that paranoia, but if there's no reason whatsoever, it's almost a little. What I've been noticing is it's just a little ego.
Physical.
Yeah. Which that's something I want to talk about. Is just the ego, and I know we talked about before. Kind of coming up with topics that we were going to talk about: the ego and emotion, and what was the other thing?
Just human behavior.
And they all tie in, and it's all so prevalent right now.
Yeah, I think with the like going to what you're saying a little, the egotistical thing is like, I think we all care about what people think to some degree. There's certain people that we just do not care whether like they think about us or not or so. But anyways, they do you care about everyone? So I always try to take that sort of approach when I think about stuff like, oh man, should I have said that? Like, how much weird shit people say to me that I just don't care,
right?
That type of thing. But like with the whole, like, I think it's funny is like going around telling everybody that you don't have an ego is extremely egotistical.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have an ego.
It's the catch-22.
Yeah, it's the same side of the coin. It's like dissolve the ego, promote the self, and then, like I said, dissolve the ego. It's the same thing.
Right.
Like the more you try to dissolve the ego and inflate the self, kind of the adverse thing happens is you're inflating your ego because like I'm not tied to these materialistic items, and I'm so far out there.
Well, I think that there's a fine line, and I think that a person who can truly shed their ego and be their self and be present in the moment, the person that can really do that, those sorts of thoughts don't arise. Those sorts of thoughts only arise in people that are not pure about it, right? say a movie star. They have all this money and they can go to whatever transcendental meditation they want or Scientology church or whatever, and they do it because they have the money and it's the cool thing to do, so they buy into all this and they practice this and they preach it, but they're not really that way because they're being boisterous or bragging about it and that sort of thing, and that takes away even oh god, I had a term for it, the modern day egotistical oh god, what was it? I can't remember. The modern day egotistical enlightened person. I can't remember exactly what I thought about one time, but they want to seem enlightened and they do all this stuff. They go to yoga, they do meditation, they talk about it and all that sort of thing because it's the cool thing to do, but they're not really where they portray themselves to be.
It's like
they're
like
so
a facade almost.
Yeah, they're so stuck in their head, and you can. With some people, obviously they're not. They got it, that sort of thing. But with these people, you can almost read right through them. You can tell because they're so stuck in their heads, and the allure and the look of it, and how people perceive them is more important than the actual feeling to them, which is what in my journey that right now is what I'm trying to make sure that that's not a point of why I want to get to where I want to get.
Yeah. It's kind of like if you want to do something creative with your life for the sake of proving everybody wrong that you could do it, you're probably doing it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
Rather than just proving to yourself that you could do anything that you want to do.
Right.
Type of thing.
Yeah, because it should be important to you. It shouldn't. That kind of gets back to the subtle art of not giving a fuck, the measurement system. What are you using to measure your success or the end point in which you're trying to accomplish? And if it's, like you said, if you want to be good at something to prove everyone wrong, I don't think that's the correct measurement in which...
Most people probably won't care. Like if you became a musician and you sold, tons of records and won Grammys and everybody, and you finally went back to your high school reunion, like, hey, I've sold millions of records and I won Grammys. They probably don't give a shit.
Right.
They're just like, oh, that's cool, man. Really,
right.
And then they'll just go on like, well, my kids are doing, just completely oblivious to
right.
like, the accomplishments that you have, which will leave like this hollow feeling because like you're measuring the success on other people's like opinions of you.
Right. The other people's reactions.
Yeah, and then you're just gonna feel empty from
yeah.
it, and then try to get more records instead of just doing
it for you.
Yeah, instead of
the best musicians don't have a single Grammy. They sit at their homes and
I always like what Pearl Jam does with their Grammys is they just throw them into a closet, just shut the door.
I have to say though, if I ever won a Grammy, I'd put that shit on my mantle. I'd be damn happy about it.
Well, yeah, for you because you're doing your art because you want to do your art, and this is recognition from your peers that your art is worthy of a accolade, right?
Like Beck's the perfect example.
Yeah, like his music's all over the place. I love Beck.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, just like that. Like people are just appreciate. He's doing whatever he wants to do in music, and then they're just really appreciating his stuff.
Right. Yeah, and I think that these days the ego is a big factor. The ego, narcissism, because there's so many positive reinforcements to people's actions, their words, even their thoughts. So many positive reinforcements coming from people who aren't as informed to not necessarily give that sort of enforcement, but to like people who post stuff on Twitter or whatever. They post a thought and if they'll get 5 likes. That's boom. And I know we've talked about this before, and I'm not going to get like super in depth and go on a rant about it again. But people take that as a false positive reinforcement to their thoughts, and it just inflates the ego more and more and more and more and more, and it turns it into this, turns it into that. And that's why we have all these blind talking heads walking around here with no sort of substance to their words or their thoughts. They're uninformed. They're acting on emotion.
Yeah, I think that kind of like going with the behavior of the people that are doing this stuff is we're not meant to see so many shiny things
Right.
as animals. So there's a lot of shiny things that we have that can just like captivate our attention.
Right.
And then when you start getting all those likes or all these accolades because, your band took off or your art's doing well and it's instant, like you didn't put in the work, like back, how long has he been a musician for? Almost 30 years now?
Yeah, a long ass time.
Yeah, so he's got like longevity on his side, whereas like somebody that's new that started in, say, 2016 and they're just winning awards right now, is they get this false sense,
Yep.
which is, they okay, how do I make another record to sell? And then like, oh, my music's way better than all these new people's music, and then it's inflating their ego and like, I don't know, kind of like going on a simpler term with all the likes and everything. It's like they're getting a bunch of likes, right? And then that's releasing all this dopamine, and then you kind of build this internal monster,
Right.
where they don't think that anything they do is going to be bad. And so they actually end up just creating bad art because they think that's what people want rather
Right.
than what they want to do to express themselves through
Right.
it.
Yeah, and I think it's making them spend so much time in their head. It's a reinforcement of their brain, in their head, in their ego, in their thought process. And in order to transcend past that, God, why does it keep doing that? To transcend past that, you have to get out of your head, right? You have to go vertical. You have to be present in the moment. You have to be present. Notice the things around you. Notice the now. Not spend time worrying about the future, not spend time worrying about the past. Eckhart Tolle, in one of those discussions he was talking about, he says, the now is right now, and in the future, there's a now then. And if you spend all your time thinking about that now, when you get to that now, it's not going to be the now right now.
It won't be the now that you think of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a false now, but being present in the now. And I think that being aware of that and not spending so much time in your head, obviously think about things.
Well, there is a difference between thinking and mindless brain chatter.
Right.
Like when your brain's just constantly going, it's just
Right.
chattering
Right.
about nothing.
And that's what people tweet about, and that's what people do that sort of thing.
And how to shut that off.
Right.
And actually truly have real thoughts rather than just, oh, this drink tastes really good, I'm going to tweet about it. I don't probably think that's
right.
just actual thinking thought. Now, if you broke it down to complexity of why you like the flavor, I don't know, I'm just using this for an example because I talked about it. But just kind of like cut the chatter out.
Right. Yeah, and I think what he talks about or the point he's trying to make is don't spend so much time in your head. To me, how I interpret it is don't spend so much time in your head thinking about behind you, in front of you, stressing out about things that aren't right here, right now. I think it's about the purpose of this specific message that I was listening to and that really hit home and that I think is important to talk about is when you're here right now, be present. Notice the things around you. Notice your body. Notice the other people's body. Talk to people.
Like mindfulness almost?
Right. Mindfulness, yeah. Talk to people. Talk to people about this sort of thing because what it does is it forces you outside of your head and gets you talking and gets you transcending into some other realm, or not necessarily a realm, but
like a realm of thought. I know what you mean, because like sometimes when if you just sit around and think about topics to talk about, like maybe a good example is, oh, I need to tell somebody this thing, and so you start having this internal dialogue as if they were there with you, and it always goes bad, and you're just like, oh man, I'm dreading talking to them, and then you finally talk to them, and it's way different than you thought it was.
Yeah,
gonna be.
it's
so just,
better, and it feels
yeah.
good too. And when you leave it, you're like, damn, that felt good. I'm glad I got that off my chest.
Yeah, so just kind of talk with people, and you can, like what you said, just transcend your
right
mindless chatter.
Right, like perfect. I'm gonna throw this damn thing out the window. Perfect example.
Just like staying like far back and just
Yeah, I don't know what it is. If it's the cord or if it's just the pop filter. If it's just the pop filter, I don't know. But perfect example. I got assigned this task at work a couple days ago, and it was a high priority task. It was due in 2 days. It was a JavaScript problem in which I had never dealt with JavaScript at my new job. I usually just do simple HTML, CSS right now because I'm still ramping up. And I thought about it for the last 2 days, just thinking, man, this is so stressful. This is going to be, I hope I can do it. I don't want to take more time than I'm supposed to, just worrying so much about it. And then today it was the funnest, most fun thing that I've done since I worked there. I worked on it with this other guy that I work with, and we figured it out. It took 2 hours, but it was fun. I learned so much, and I was present in that moment. And the time that I wasted thinking about it, I could have been thinking about something else or been present in that moment. So I think that that's kind of like a good example of kind of what, to piggyback on what you said about worrying about talking to someone. Just talk to them. Don't even think about it. And if you kind of start to mold your mindset into that mentality, you'll notice a difference in how you're feeling. You might be happier. Things won't stress you out as much, because it's also kind of like, pulling a house apart. If you start to pick away at it, you're going to have access to these bigger pieces. And then when these bigger pieces fall down, the whole fucking thing's coming down. And the whole thing is your inner ego, not necessarily ego, but your inner wall of worry. If you kind of just pick away at little things, I'm not going to be worried about talking to this person, because then you build that up and you can talk to people easier. I'm going to try really hard not to stress about money. I don't stress about money anymore. You're slowly giving yourself this time and this mental space back to think about other things and be present more in the moment.
Yeah, I think with the whole worrying about stuff is, if it's not actual true danger and it's just a fear, you should just tackle it and see. Like, that's the best way to get over fears. Is like, if you have an anxiety of being at home and all you can think about is, did I lock the door? While you're inside the house, just unlock the door and just leave it unlocked for like hours.
Right.
And see, like, oh, nobody came in. Because they're probably not going to come in.
Right.
That type of thing, unless you live in like in a real dangerous neighborhood, then
Right.
don't take my advice. But for the most part, just combat your anxiety by doing exactly what it's telling you not to do.
Right.
So if it's like, go up and talk to that person, because you may, it might be somebody you look up to because they have, art skills that you want, or they're a musician, or it's some girl or dude that you want to talk to. And you start playing your head like, oh, they'll think I'm dumb, and then all this, and then you miss the opportunity, rather than just like, oh, I'll meet that person, and then just shut off every thinking, but walk to talk to them, and then see how it goes. If you go up there and you're just an idiot and you talk and you're like fumbling over your words and you look stupid, that was your first time. As soon as you keep doing that more and more, then eventually you'll just get a lot better at it and just be able to go up to anybody and talk to anybody.
Right. Yeah, I think that society would benefit a lot more if people spent less times in their heads.
Yeah, well, quality time in their head, because time spent isn't always good. It's quality time spent that's good. It's kind of like if you spend time, let's say, with a relative, and you're just sitting there not doing anything. That's not real time. You're just there. So kind of use that as like a thought. But when you're doing something productive or, mentally stimulating, or something that's just not just sitting there, it's quality time spent. And
Right.
You'll have kind of a better experience through that than, like I said, just cutting the chatter out, rather than think to yourself constantly. Just really give something like a true thought, or, like I said, experience something differently by doing the opposite.
Right. I think that the reason that we're here on this plane, in this dimension or density or
Reservoir.
whatever this is, I think that the purpose of it is to learn. And I think that if you don't take advantage of learning about others, most importantly probably learning about yourself, then whatever comes next, you're not going to be prepared.
Yeah. I think it's human behavior, because I like to observe people, and I also observe kind of like animals and insects and stuff. Just seeing their habits. Humans are a little easier because I'm around humans more so than animals. But it just seems like, a squirrel can gather all the acorns in the summer and then be perfectly content in the winter. And it's kind of the same thing with a bear or a dog. You can give a dog food and water, and it's not going to sit there and just eat and just be content. I think it's human nature to not be content. I think we constantly need to push ourselves forward.
Where did that come from? Where did that feeling, that need come from?
I have no idea, but if you don't follow that, if you try to think that you're content, right, and you're doing it for the wrong reasons, like, oh, I'm content because of these reasons, and you just don't do anything anymore, I think that you're gonna have this internal struggle, and I think that's where a lot of depression kind of sets in. But I don't know. I think that's why we evolved to what we are, is because we are not satisfied. We created a stone tool. We weren't satisfied with that. We created a bow and arrow. We weren't satisfied with that. We just kept trying to make things better and better and better and better to become to like a level of just like satiation for and we just we've discovered everything about, not really everything, but for the most part, because we can still do the oceans and learn new species of plants and animals and bugs and insects and all that. But now we're trying to go to different planets. Like, we're just not happy with what we've discovered.
Right. And I think that is twofold. I think that there's a part of that that's positive, and that's the want to grow and learn.
Yeah.
But there's also, like you said, the aspect of discontent. So it comes down to, what's the intent? My intent is, I'm not necessarily unhappy with myself. I'm actually very happy with myself. I don't get stressed out as much anymore since I began this kind of journey. But I want to grow. I want to learn. The only reason I want to do that, though, is to grow and learn. Yeah. I don't think there's necessarily a benevolent thought process in it. Not, I want to be smart so I can be smarter than this person, or so I can do this, or so I can do that. My intent is, I want to learn more. I want to know more. I want to know what there is out there or what's not out there.
Yeah, like growing up, I hated school. I did not want to be in it. All I wanted to do was just like play outside or draw, or just, I never really read a lot when I was a kid, because the books that they would force you to read were not interesting to me at all. It's really strange that as I get older, the more I want to learn and I actually seek out doing things.
I almost am like pissed at myself that I
not
didn't
learning stuff.
Yeah, earlier, that I didn't get on this earlier. I had little stints here and there, but I feel like I wish I would have spent more time earlier. But it's fine. Everyone has their time.
Yeah, and I guess it's just like, now what I don't understand is people who like are our age, when they don't want to grow at all. Like, they don't want, like, I'll ask people,
it's too hard.
Like, what do you read? And they're like, oh, I don't read at all. Like, you don't read? Like, then what do you do? Do you watch documentaries? No, I just watch sitcoms. Like, okay, why do you watch sitcoms? Is it because you like the lighting or how, funny things? Like, no, I just mindlessly zone out. They don't really say that.
Some people just don't have any
is it drive or passion?
Passion. They're asleep.
I don't maybe because it's kind of like, if you're a dog, you don't get why anybody would want to not be a dog.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I just constantly want to learn and just understand different things. I don't understand why people don't want to do that type of thing. It's like, I heard Sean Carroll say something like, somebody asked him, do you believe your beliefs are right? And he goes, yes, that's why I believe in them.
Right. And that's the thing. I don't think it's our job to go around and try to wake people up or inform them. That's not our job. I think that our purpose is to do that shit for ourselves.
Yeah.
I think that whatever you believe in, whatever you choose to believe in, is what is going to happen. If you believe in heaven, then you're going to go to heaven. If that's your end game, sure, you're going to go there.
What if that is true?
Yeah, it is true. I honestly think, from all this stuff that I've been learning, the law of human attraction, the law of one, Eckhart Tolle's stuff, it's this kind of reverberating, resounding thing that I'm discovering, is it's all about you. It's all about what you believe in. Heaven is not a place. Heaven is it within you. It's what you make.
Yeah, because I think about it after death is because what I would love to happen after I die is to get the infinite knowledge of how if there's multiple realities, universes, just and be able to observe all of it.
Yeah, I think you just moved to. I think that you move somewhere else. Your soul, your consciousness goes somewhere else. Consciousness is not a measurable thing, and it will never be measured. I honestly don't think it is. I think that it just
Unless,
is.
Because we can see that dogs have consciousness. It's just
a different level, a different plane.
Yeah, like a different level of consciousness is if something transcends us to a higher level of consciousness, which I think it could be, because like how I think we kind of develop this is through language. It's like table, chair, things like that, and then we can like make whole sentences and get ideas, but it's very limited. I think the next stage is like when I drink water or I eat an orange is to accurately describe that sensation I am experiencing into your mind so you feel like you've experienced it as well.
And I think that has to do with being in the moment, because only can you describe what you're eating or what you're doing when you're present in the moment. It's all related. And I think that heaven, let's use that for an example. When I die, I'm going to go to I want to go to heaven. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. That none of that has to do with being in the moment. You're literally planning for the end of your life. You are holding that looming thing over your head that will be with you for every single day. Not the car payment that you know you're not going to make in 2 weeks. Not the test that you have in 3 weeks. Literally the end of your life. You always have that hanging over your head, the stress of that. That is what will prevent you from truly believing or being present in the now, unless heaven is where you are now. Heaven is a state of mind in the presence right here, right now.
That's what Sam Harris says. He goes, for the amount of time that we waste, there better be an afterlife.
Right.
Because this is the only life that we know of. Like, there's no proof that we existed before.
Right.
And there's no proof we existed after. But there is proof right now that we're existing right now.
Just like you're pumping fucking money into your retirement, there is no scientific, biological proof that you will be alive when you're 60 or that your money will be there when you're 60. You are living on hopes and dreams.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand is like the people who are truly successful do things that they want. Like we were talking about, excuse me, Beck. I'm pretty sure when he was making music, his weird stuff with like before he came out with that first album, where he was making sounds with leaf blowers, like stuff like that. He was just doing it because he was intrigued by all this stuff. He probably wasn't thinking, man, one day this album, or somebody will hear me making music with a leaf blower, and then I'll win all these awards, and then I'll have money, and that's how I'm going to live my life. Like, no, he was just doing something that he wanted to do.
Yeah, he genuinely loved it. That was his
in the moment
what is it?
Thing.
Like Ikigai?
Oh, Ikigai.
Ikigai.
Yeah, and see, through that one is how he made it available to everybody else is there's no music like his music at that time. Like, even now, like, I don't think anybody's music, even like the catalog of what he can do, like, he's not like one genre.
Right.
He helps
he
people
literally
out.
Got so pissed off about the Kanye West or some pop shit thing that he said, just to prove, I think it was after he got his Grammy. I think he said
that one album in 2014.
Yeah, he said, "Oh, just to prove you all, I can make dance pop music or whatever. I'm gonna put out a dance pop song every year," and that's where that, I think it was Wow.
Oh, from the his new album Colors.
Yeah. Whoa, I'm gonna do it right now or whatever it is.
Yeah,
I think, but that was him saying "fuck you." And I mean that kind of was. Maybe not the best decision, but he's just proving, he doesn't care.
Yeah. I didn't really care for that song, but
I liked the song. I liked the bass, and it was a good sounding bass.
I don't know. It was just weird coming from what was it? I think it was called Morning something. His one before that.
Yeah.
Go from that to that. I was like, oh, this is kind of weird. But some things I have to listen to let it grow on me.
Yeah.
Like I can't just instantly know it. But yeah, it's like when you save up with your 401k, you penny pinch to like this is the thing that I don't get for the mentality of people who do this stuff is I'm going to penny pinch and I'm going to buy the cheapest versions of stuff. I'm only going to eat basically, what can provide skin and bones for me. When you do that for 40, 50 years,
you're going to die early.
well, yeah, or you're just going to continue those habits.
You're gonna wither away. It stresses you out. Shit food stresses you out.
Yeah, it does.
If I don't eat good food, I get stressed out.
Yeah, and that's why it's like I'm saying, I drank Dr. Pepper like crazy when I was younger, and it made me paranoid and freaked out and everything.
It's the caffeine.
So, the only things that I'll drink now is water and tea.
Yeah.
That's
well,
it.
not caffeine, but whatever they were putting in there.
Yeah, I don't. That when I was back home, my friend was telling me that when he was in the military, he would go through tons of water. All he drinks is water. He doesn't drink anything else. Maybe like beer and stuff when he's drinking, but like for normal drink, he's just drinking water. And he said that, I forget where they're at, but somewhere in India, and he's just like, dude, it's so hot. He's like, he goes, immediately can feel my hair is turning gray. And he goes, I have to pee so bad all the time because of the amount of water I'm drinking. And his friend goes, man, I haven't peed once in like 3 days. He's like, what have you been drinking? And he goes, oh, soda.
Oh.
Like, it's actual nourishment. It's just straight up soda for 3 days. Like, his pee is going to come out like toothpaste.
That's so gross.
But that's what people think is like that sort of thing is they have no idea that they're eating shit food, drinking shit drinks.
Right.
And they're like, I don't know why I'm sad.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing anything and like
pumping all this nasty shit in you. Yeah. And believe in heaven, whatever. That could be real, could be not real. Guess what is real? You're going to fucking die.
Yeah. Why don't people acknowledge that more?
Don't be stressed about it. Yeah. It's going to happen. It's not an if. It's not an if.
Yeah.
It is an is. It is and is. That's the only thing that that's the only guarantee and the only thing that you could possibly be kind of stressed about. But fuck it, just live in the moment. Don't spend all your time worrying about this or that or am I going to get into heaven, because it prevents you from being present in that moment. I can't tell you how much of my life and I'm sure there's tons of other people that feel this way, how much of my life or someone else's life I don't remember because I was not present in the moment. You know why you're not present when you're fucking blacked out drunk? Because the alcohol shuts shit in your brain down to make you coherent in the moment, and you're in your head. You're acting on instinct and whatever's in your head. You're not present in the moment. That's what I mean. There's tons of concerts that I was probably totally sober at that I don't remember because I was not present at.
Yeah, our brains do have a weird way, because like right now in this room, think of how much stimuli is here. Our minds have to sift through all of this stimuli to get to like the root of what we actually need to observe, right? So if like 2 days from now you ask me something about whatever is in this room, I probably won't remember it, even though I've sat here for however long and stared at these things. It's because your brain doesn't really need to be in the moment. They're just picking out information that is able to kind of combat the environment. That's how we've evolved, is through our senses to combat the environment. So you can say, what smell was the incense? Like, oh, I don't know you're burning one.
Yeah.
Well, I know that you are, but I'm just saying, like, I won't know. So, because, like, if you were truly in the moment, you would have way too much stimuli going on. But if that's what it is, like, when it's kind of like my mom, when I talk to her, she'll just ramble on about things that just don't really have any value to, like, the conversation we're talking about. Not saying what she's saying doesn't have any value. It's just ramble, just chatter, And sometimes I'll just let her go and just keep on talking, because I know one day, like, I'm just sitting here and listening to her voice. Like, okay, I know she's talking about this and this. One day, in probably, 50 years, she was not going to be here.
You're going to wish that you did listen.
Yeah, and not like get off the phone like, oh, Mom, you're talking, random shit right now. I need to get the phone with you. It's just listen, because one day you will wish that you had that. It's kind of like that. It's like when I go see music, it's look at everything. How are the musicians interacting with each other? Because the music will still be there probably on YouTube in 3 days, right?
Right.
But what your point of view of how you've seen the concert, for example, is pick up on different things, because you know the music for the most part. That's why you're going to go see them, because you enjoy them. But the crazy thing is the time I'm in the moment at concerts is when I have no idea who the band is and something hits me and I have to go see it. That's kind of why I like going to festivals and stuff, is because you have no idea what these bands are. Like, wow, something hits you and you can you remember, seeing them live for the first time. But it's kind of just sift through all of the stimuli that's going on and just pick up random things.
Right.
Like, okay, how was I during this conversation? What did I smell? What did I, hear beyond the conversation? Things like that.
Yeah. And I think that that's what people are, like you said, what am I going to remember? When you die, it's a topic that's kicked like a dead horse. You don't want to have any regret. Ooh, that's a cliche thing to say, obviously, but do people really understand what that means? Not having any regrets means being present, being able to remember everything, making sure that you took full, soaked in the fullness of situation and life, and being present in the moment. And I think that trying to shed the ego is one of the most important things, because aspects of the ego and maybe narcissism or that sort of thing, they are vomit thoughts in your brain when you are today I was at the gym and I was listening to some podcast or something, but I was listening to the podcast. I was intent on the podcast. I was staring at a point on the wall. I was just listening, honing it in. I wasn't looking around being like, oh, that person's fat, or oh, I wish I had a body like that, or this or that. Those intrusive thoughts that are ego based because you're using a comparison, or you're judging someone else because of a proclivity that you have or something like that. And I think that if you can get to a center or get to a part in your mind where you can just get away from, I would love to get intrusive thoughts the fuck out of here, unless they're funny or creative or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm trying so hard to push away the intrusive thoughts of when I fucking hate texting and driving shit, but I'm trying to get to the point where that doesn't even piss me off. And then today it was so funny. I was literally thinking about this, and this woman clearly on her phone, drove by me and waved at me. I was like, that's weird. Is that a sign?
Yeah, it's probably a sign.
But that sort of thing, like, get myself to the point where why does that piss me off? Why does that make me mad? And question my thoughts. And why does that make me mad? Oh, because I can see things in how they play out. Yeah. That's how I always think about things. Why does that make me mad? Oh, because I know that person driving is going to get to that stop sign. Their reaction time isn't going to be what I want it to be, and I'm going to have to sit behind them, thus preventing me from getting home sooner. I have to go to the gym before I do the podcast. Barry's coming over at 6:30. I'm going to get at the gym at 5:45. If this person doesn't go, oh, they're causing more traffic, and then there's 15 people doing this. It's just that whole the beginning of this, the spiraling web of negative thoughts and stress, and all of a sudden now I'm fucking stressed about something, and I just waste 10 minutes being pissed off about something that's not going to matter. Whereas I could have just not been mad about it, but trying to spend time and figuring out, why do you get mad about that? Trace where it's going to go, or trace the lineage of it, of your stressors, or
to the root.
Yeah, to the root of why does it really make you mad, and then address that situation and deal with that, then get that away and move on to the next thing.
Yeah. You were talking about death, and I forget who I was talking to. It was recently, and I asked them, what is the opposite of death? And they said life. And I said, no. The opposite of death is birth. The opposite of life is anti-life.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're mostly scared of too.
That's very true. Well, that's another paradox though, because what's the opposite of life, or what's the opposite of death? Yeah, it's birth, but it was still there before birth.
Yeah, so before birth was anti-life. You're going to experience it again.
Yeah. Oh God, I forgot what I was listening to, but it kind of talks about the whole universe thing. Well, what came first, the atom or you don't really know, and it's just that it just was. It was just consciousness, or that sort of thing. Yeah,
I don't know. I've kind of been toying with the idea that, because light can create crystals.
Yeah. I
wonder if all of this is just a manifestation of light.
I don't know though, because you throw the thing is anytime you can say any scientific, biological, whatever sort of observation, but as soon as you throw the word consciousness into it, it destroys any sort of argument like that.
But what if we are that?
Consciousness?
No,
That's what,
manifestations of light, right?
well, that's what we see, yeah.
And then where consciousness blooms from it is light trying to understand itself. Because there's like, okay, we can, shoot a photon and it splits up and acts weird as like a particle and a wave. Why do I do that? And it's like, it's just constantly having all these like, okay, well, I'm trying to understand myself. Big giant sun, that's light. Okay, well, I don't really do anything. Okay, well, let's create lightning. What does lightning do? Like, okay, it's just a flash, and it just like, keeps on going. Like, okay, humans maybe can understand what I am.
Yeah.
We'll have that, because if I kind of look at consciousness as it's part of this reality. Like in this universe, we have consciousness, and we're in this universe. So consciousness is from this universe.
Right.
It can't. I don't think we're. I kind of like the idea, though, that it's kind of like when you have a TV. There's nothing going on in a TV. It's just picking up a signal. So really all you're watching is the receiving end of a signal.
Right.
Not actually the TV's not
so
doing
maybe
anything.
maybe our consciousness is a signal from something.
Yes, but then it would have to be, is it inside this universe? Or because everything is contained within this universe, the universe itself is like a TV, and we're just one facet inside that TV.
Yeah.
That is like gathering the signal.
Yeah.
Because I like that idea.
Yeah,
But
that's a good idea.
What?
That's a good idea. I like that. It makes
Because-
sense.
Because here's the reason why I kind of like the whole idea that we're like a receiving end for the TV, or for the signal for the consciousness is people like, just like a TV, right? If you destroy a TV, you hit it.
But the signal's still there.
The signal's still there. So like when you watch a TV and you, let's say like an LCD TV, and you hit it and it just blows up and the colors everywhere and it looks all fucked up, it's because you damaged the receiver, right? So if somebody gets in a car wreck and smashes their brain, oh, their personality's different. How do we know their consciousness is different? No, you just fucked up the receiver. That's all. The consciousness signal is still hitting the same thing. It's just the receiver's all messed up.
Right. So basically our bodies, we as people, we're TVs. We're receiving a signal from somewhere, because TVs, their physical being has a lifespan. A TV will not last forever. Something in it will fucking blow out, that sort of thing. But the signal won't die. The signal comes from the cable company or comes from the satellite or whatever, that kind of shit. So where would our signal be coming from?
Probably outside the universe. Like outside our reality. 'Cause
Yeah.
our reality is the universe itself.
Well, I think that we're all the same signal. I think we're all just different TV boxes. Because I buy into
exactly.
the law of one is, it's this book. I listened to part of it, but it's I didn't read the book. I've been listening to it, but from the sound of it, it sounds that it is this telepathic conversation with Ra, because these people ask Ra a question, and he says, I am Ra, I am one, we are all the same, we are one. And I think that it's true. I think that, and that's kind of the basis of the law of one, is we are all one consciousness. We are all, not to be biblical or religious, but we are all God, in parts, different parts. And I mean, we're all one signal. We're all just different vehicles of this same signal, because at least humans are, the consciousness. And I think the consciousness,
all of it would be too, even dogs. It's just their receiver's different.
Yeah. I think that it's one universal consciousness, and it has to do with vibrations. And the consciousness is a vibration, because think about the double slit experiment. So when you fire protons in and you don't look at it, it's wave, right? No, when you don't look at it, they're particles. They go through the hole, but when you observe it, it's a wave. So that's kind of what consciousness is. It's like a wave. And so when when a wave goes, it dissipates, it spreads, then it hits, one part hits a seawall, one part does this. So I think that consciousness is a wave. It's some sort of wavelength that is, not measurable, because obviously we can't see it yet. But I think that the idea of trying to get everyone on the same wavelength would create some sort of vibration. And I think that vibration, wavelengths, that whole sort of thing, I think that's kind of the general direction in which, if you went down that path, you could probably start to get more information on all of this.
Yeah.
Because think about like when you tune a guitar, you know, when you put your finger on the 5th fret of the low E string, and you hit that and the A, and if it's perfectly in tune, there's no vibration. It's just one wave, right? But if it's out of tune, you can hear the two waves combating, right? That's how you tune a guitar by ear. Well, you tune the first string, hopefully to E, the right string, and then you tune them all till it's in perfect harmony. Not even harmony, because harmony is not one, but it's one. You can go down each 5th fret, except for on the G string, you gotta do the 4th fret because that's B on the B string. But if there's wavelengths, it's not in tune. And I think that really resonates with me, because obviously playing music and stuff, but I think that's kind of where all this philosophy and meditation and all this kind of things, I keep hearing a common theme of vibration and wavelength and that sort of thing. I'm not really sure how to apply it at this point, but I think that it's kind of like a step in the right direction.
Yeah, because like I think so too, especially because I was thinking about like this as the light, and it's just us experiencing itself. I think I've said that before. So I think that the weirdest thing is when you are experiencing anti-life is not having your brain to go back up to join it. So like, what is that?
Autopilot? You mean like autopilot?
Yeah, so it's like a good example is you have a TV in your house and it shared all these experiences with you, different remotes, maybe you've programmed to it, different things hooked up. It's, you know, this TV specifically played these movies where other TVs didn't, you know, things like that. And then once the TV's destroyed, the signal's still the same, doesn't have any sort of recollection of what it played.
Yeah.
And I always think maybe that's
unless it's got DVR.
Well, the TV, not the box would have the TV
true,
itself.
yeah.
So like
when
when the signal, you know, goes back into where it's originally from, it doesn't really, you know,
right. Remember what kind of TV it was, or what kind of cable box.
So it would have no idea that it's dead. But yeah, I don't know.
I feel though that the signal would feel a sense of rejuvenation, because if it is energy, right, and you have more energy going out to more things, then the central energy source is weaker, right?
Yeah.
So if that TV breaks, it gets another little piece of the signal, so it gets stronger. So what if maybe the ultimate source, it wasn't an intentional thing? Because wouldn't you want more energy? And for more energy, you would need the energy flowing to less sources. So I think that could, to me, that would say that it was an unintentional dispersion of energy or consciousness. Because for me, I want to share aspects of my consciousness, but I wouldn't want to give away my consciousness, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, I think about that too, with the whole not sharing your consciousness, but like, this body is from this earth. It has to go back to it.
Right.
And either in the form of ash and smoke, if you decide to go that route, or just bury yourself. I want to be buried straight in the ground without any sort of box. Just bury me in the ground. That way all my atoms can kind of go everywhere. But you're borrowing this body from this earth. Where are you borrowing your consciousness from? Is it really solely yours?
Right. Yeah. Or at what aspect in the life cycle did you get plugged in? You know, when did the cable antenna come into you?
Yeah, because
when did you become conscious? When did you turn on?
I don't know.
Because the cable box is a piece of plastic in a factory. It got made, but when is the point that it gets plugged in?
And also, kind of going with the whole idea of building the box is, you're not like human, right? Well, you are a human, but what makes you a human, right? What single thing makes you a human? Is it your fingernails? Is it your eyes?
Right.
Like an idea is like, what makes a car a car? Is it the wheels? Is it the drive shaft? Is it the doors? Or is it the sum of all of its parts? And that's kind of how I view a human.
Right.
Is a human is just a term for the sum of all of its parts. And I think that the sum of all its parts is the way that the atoms are organized in a specific way to make you.
Right.
Like you have the same amount of atoms, give or take, depending on your mass and what sort of features you might have, as me, right?
Right.
is we are a giant puzzle piece that was put into a specific order to make us a human, that when you were specifically, I don't want to say created because I don't believe in any of that, but organized, right, from evolution, because you existed 100 million years ago. It's just your atoms weren't in the right puzzle piece configuration. Is as soon as that one, the last atom was like created, boom, the signal opened up for this specific consciousness to dive into that entity, which is you.
And maybe it's just, maybe you were assigned the signal when the sperm hits the egg. Maybe because they're, I guess because I mean, I don't know about sperms or eggs, but I don't think they're conscious. But when they come together, maybe that's the symbiotic relationship that's needed in order for the signal to hit it. But then it's just like when you first get a TV, it has to download all this information. It has to boot up, So maybe between your at the moment of the signal hitting the source, it's up to the source whether or not it wants to come out of the download. I don't know. That kind of, I don't know. That's a conundrum in my mind, because then that then bears the question of, okay, if I download all this information and I'm coming from a signal, is the signal static or is the signal aware? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Am I just, because I feel there's people that go through their whole life and maybe they never become awake, or in our terminology of awake or aware or one, they just kind of go through life, the mundane, and it's over. Like, what kind of signal would that be, or what kind of consciousness would that be? Would that be like basic cable, or is that just because they're
air, TV,
they're assigned this signal, which is the streamline of consciousness goes into them, but I don't know.
I also think about, so when the sperm and the egg combine and start creating this entity, regardless if it's a dog or human, but I'll say a human for this case, I don't think that's truly a you yet. That's not truly, well, of course, because you're just a small little petri dish of cells. But I mean, everything that your mother ate and everything that she experienced helped create you, specifically you. Because let's say on the 3rd week of conception, she decides to eat steak instead of tofu.
Right.
Would that still make you?
It'd probably make you crave steak.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Or if she decided not to go to work when she did go to work, would that create you? Because as we know with our DNA, there's tags on our DNA that actually have our parents' experiences ingrained into us.
Right.
So like, what sort of thing is you the you that you are? Because like I said, if you get damaged through a car wreck or some other sort of maybe traumatic trauma, like if you like PTSD, right? The signal's coming in differently.
Right.
And just like you're saying that sometimes things need to reboot, is maybe the TV needs to reboot, right?
Right.
Is our brain is just so hot that it needs to reboot and then kind of reconfigure it. And I kind of think that's what sleep is. It's reconfiguring it, because some people will say like, okay, well, you can take psychedelics, right? How do you know that that's real? Everybody that really takes psychedelics that has kind of an awakening, not for like a party drug or anything like that, but just kind of like be connected, they kind of say the same things, which is it felt more real than this.
Right. Well, you can pick up different parts of the signal.
Yeah,
or tap into different parts of the.
That's what I'm thinking, is because you're like, when you're sleeping, your mind is doing weird things that you don't really like. We can put like brain waves and stuff to you, and then do the same thing if let's say you're on psilocybin or something. They can do the brain scanning of you, but we don't know where the information's coming from.
Right.
Is a lot of people who come out of the experiences, they'll say it's not. They don't believe it's a drug induced. They believe it's real, and it was just a vehicle to get them there.
Right.
Kind of like when you go to sleep, or some people who meditate, or just whatever it may possibly be, to kind of open up the doors in your head to gather a different sort of signal.
Right.
And that's why when I think when people say, with the whole, like, this is 100% the way it really is, I don't really think so, because we are experiencing it through our own senses type of thing.
Right. Yeah, I think that it could be possible that you are you when you are born, but it's up to you to continue to figure out who you are and who you want to be.
Oh, it's just like a computer. I thought of that. It's
Right.
like when you, let's say you buy like a Windows 98, right?
Yeah.
And you don't do any updating.
Then it's
It's gonna be the same thing, right?
Right.
But if you constantly, okay, we'll update the processor and
Right.
then the graphics card, and so that
Right.
to make it better and kind of keep up. It's kind of like,
Well, and I think it's natural for people like us who are looking for that greater knowledge or greater understanding. That's just who we are. We want to find the source. Maybe some people don't necessarily care about finding the source. Maybe they just want to. They've broken away from the source and they're just leading their own lives. They don't really care about thinking about that. They're just not wired that way. It doesn't interest them. What does interest them is the 9-to-5 money, partying on the weekends, or not necessarily that that's even a bad thing. To each their own. But the essence of you is you. But there's some people that obviously are going to realize, well, shit, where did I come from? There's got to be a source somewhere. Where is this source? What does this source come from? And that I was kind of thinking too, people that remember things in past lives, the whole idea of a unified consciousness would make sense, because if when you die you go back up there, then something else comes back down. What they're remembering is a piece of someone else's signal gets shot into them. So they're like, what the fuck is this? And I think that it's always there in the beginning. I think it's kind of a discombobulation when you become you, or when you get the signal or the consciousness. It's a stream of information. And then how your parents develop you, or the setting in which you are placed in, is going to sculpt it into what it is. And then maybe when you learn how to talk, maybe there's still some fuzz left over, and that's how some kids are, I was my grandpa, or this or that sort of thing. And maybe there's sectors of this consciousness that stay close. So that's why he got a piece of his grandpa, because it's in the same sector of consciousness. If it was sectioned off or that sort of thing.
I was going to say real quick, I wonder because if there's other life, intelligent life in the galaxy, in this universe, they're in the same stream, right?
Yeah.
You're picking up on that too. So it's maybe not like like what you're saying, the same sector,
right?
Of like, a family member from generations ago is an alien.
Yeah.
And then maybe that's why certain people are able to understand this sort of stuff more so than people who just have never had the consciousness experience of, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Or maybe also abductions and that sort of thing. They're not really getting abducted. It's just fragments of the previous signal. Or maybe, or maybe that those people actually are there and they are trying to harvest the signal of their previous conscious, or someone they loved previous conscious. Maybe the aliens are down here working because, or maybe there's multiple consciousness in the universe, or in infinity, whatever you want to call it. Maybe there's multiple consciousness and we're all pieces of it, and aliens are just a different consciousness trying to understand our consciousness. And then I don't know. It's a fucking spiral. It could go for days.
Yeah, that would kind of dissolve the idea of oneness, though. Like if it was multiple different consciousnesses.
Or unless there's different factions of the consciousness.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. I think that it is energy, though. I think that consciousness is energy, because think about a car. A car needs energy to run. Our body is just, like Joe Rogan always says, a meat vehicle or a meat body or something. Yeah. It needs energy to run. Sure, it needs food and water. The car needs, air in the tires, or oil, but it needs energy. Its core energy is fuel.
Yeah.
Or electricity.
And it's so strange that when you have one low tire of air, right, how it operates differently is how we operate differently when our blood sugar is low.
Right.
Like it'd be like a low air in the tire, or I think that's kind of a good analogy.
It's just it's just your meat body. You have to keep it up. You have to And obviously with a car, if you put better oil in it, you put better gasoline in it, if you buy a better car, it's going to run better and it's going to run longer, just like our bodies. They're all natural things from the earth, so of course they're going to have defects because they're imperfect. But what if the consciousness is actually perfect? The consciousness is perfect. It's just the people that raised the body and that sculpted that aspect of the consciousness before you come awake. What if searching for all this, or doing transcendental meditation, or any sort of belief system that you have, or ritual or practice that you have, that's tapping back into it, so that you're leaving this vehicle, you're leaving your vehicle, but going to source or something. I think that could be a reason why people feel the way they do when they get into this kind of thing, because they feel like they get excited because they're going closer to the source and figuring it out.
Do you find that when you explain this stuff to people, and kind of how we just kind of come to ideas when we're just talking, that when you talk to other people and they get freaked out, do you find that odd?
Yeah, I think that it's because their past, how they were raised, what they were taught to believe, what they weren't taught to believe. I don't know the right word for it.
They also think it's too heavy to talk about.
Right. Or they just think it's hogwash because it's hard. It's hard to, it's honestly, you can hear it. And if we play back our podcast and stuff and you listen to it, it's hard to describe it. It's hard to talk about it. It's hard to make yourself understand it. But through discussion and through forcing your brain to think about it, I think that's how you get there.
Like you're saying is if you do all these good things for your car's going to last longer, is people don't do that with their bodies.
Right.
And I see that a lot is they don't exert excess energy, and that's why it just kind of stores up around their body, and then they don't read anything to mentally stimulate themselves. They don't do anything because I think people think that things are just going to be static.
Yeah.
This is the way it's going to be. They understand that they age, but they don't really get it.
Right.
It's not like one day you wake up and you're 60 from being 30, but it's kind of like that because the first 30 years of my life went by really fast.
Really fast.
Yeah.
But it feels like almost that it's slowing down right now.
I wonder, this is the thing that you're talking about when you get to what makes you consciousness, like when does it start, is I wonder when you become truly aware of what's going on, not in the sense of like political or social, but understanding what you are and trying to understand what you are is when you actually start living.
Yeah.
Because like, maybe I thought about this stuff when I was 15, but why am I not 15? Well, that's kind of a dumb question because of time. But is it though? Is like, why was I not researching this stuff when I was 15?
Right.
Why did I have to go the first 30 years of my life and then all of a sudden now?
Right.
Because being 30 is actually kind of just trailing on. Eventually I'll be 31, but it seems like this 30th year is going by way slower than 23rd year type of thing. Is like maybe now is the time that now get your life where you want to go. Now understand the now. Now work the best that you can to make your body healthier for the foreseeable future.
Right.
And you understand death.
Yeah. And I think that the reasoning, because you didn't realize this, or a lot of people don't get to realize this, is because between the ages of 6 to 22 or whatever, people are telling you what to put in your brain. Your parents are telling you, go to school. People are controlling what goes in your brain. 2 + 2 = 4. Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue in I don't know fucking what year. How many times did you put that on a test? People are telling you what to put in your brain. You're not given control over your own destiny. A lot of the people that made headway in this sort of field and this sort of stuff, think about Jack Kerouac. He said, fuck it, went on the road, did all these crazy things at a young age, quote unquote, figured it out, wrote On the Road, became, an icon for the whole beatnik, becoming self-aware kind of thing. Then from there, you have other people who are leaving their houses at 15, 16. Sure, there's negative aspects about it, like drugs, sex, alcohol, of course. But they're saying, fuck the system. I'm going to go discover myself through these other means. I know some people personally that did that, left their houses at 15, followed the Grateful Dead around, whatever. People put bad juju on that and deadhead hippies, whatever. These people that I know don't have a lot of money, but the happiness that they have and the joy they have of life, they're always smiling. They never they got it. They figured it out at a young age, and they got to live 50 fucking years or however old they are living it like that. And obviously there's always exceptions to that and stuff, but it's because they said fuck the system. I'm not going to buy into this machinist structural conveyor belt that's just cranking out these little robotic soldiers. They were organic with it. They figured it out themselves. And I think that everyone has the opportunity to do that. And for some people, that is going through the system and becoming a doctor, becoming a lawyer. They figured it out that this, gets me high. This is what it is. Yeah. That sort of thing.
Or even just becoming like a perpetual student, not in the sense where you don't graduate.
You dig school.
Yeah, you just keep getting degrees, and this is like what you just want to know and you want to teach. And
right.
Yeah, I think that we are all on a path, kind of like a journey, like there's something in us to do something, and when you don't follow it, it just makes a miserable life.
Right.
Because you can go through schooling, and you can become a doctor, and you can work on patients, and just see all the good that you're doing, and it makes you happy. But at the same time, you could be miserable.
Right.
Or, you quit school and don't go to college, and you just travel around and just talk with people, maybe do a lot of volunteering, and it makes you happy. Or it might fucking suck.
Right.
Like, it's like, find out. It's kind of like when you're a kid, is when you see a kid doing something for a prolonged period of time, they enjoy it. They're not going to not do something they don't,
right.
They're not going to choose something that they won't enjoy. It's kind of like food. You give them I have no idea why kids, like babies, love lemons. Like, they're just like,
oh yeah. Yeah. It's exciting. I don't know.
Yeah. But then if you give them something different, they actually taste, in our opinion, better than just sucking on a lemon.
Right.
They won't like it.
Right.
It's because they just follow the things that they like to do. And I think that's kind of what we are stripped away from when we're older. Like you said, when we're 22, 23, is now you can just put whatever you want in your head,
When you are done with college and you've done the high school and they've crammed all the shit in your head. And I get it. I get the basic principle of school is to give you base knowledge of stuff, all these things to figure it out. But
couldn't they condense it?
Yeah, they could condense it, or they could figure out a better way to make it more personal for you and more centered towards you. I really liked math, and certain aspects, maybe sometimes I wish I would have went down that road for physics or stuff, especially now. But I think that, if I would have become a mathematician right now in my life, I'd be like, oh, well, I know physics. I'm going to get into quantum physics and that sort of thing. But the reason I fucking didn't is because I had to worry about chemistry. I had to worry about biology. I had to do all this other shit that wasn't contingent on what I really wanted to know. And I feel that that's... We were granted consciousness. We were granted this sort of thing, and just like everything else, it was exploited, to work for someone else or that sort of thing.
Like what you're saying with the schooling thing is, there's a reason why it is structured that way. There's a reason why they don't cater to the individual, because if you cater to the individual, you don't produce cookie cutter humans, and that's what they really, really want, as everything to be.
Well, that was the problem with the hippies.
Yeah,
these people were out of control,
But were they really out of control?
I mean, some of them were, of course. There's always.
But aren't people who follow the systematic structure of society they built, aren't some of those out of control?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's always exceptions. There's always exceptions to everything. Everything has a yes and a no, a black and a white, a right and a wrong. Everything does. So there's always exceptions. What happened was, in that time, everything was perfect, right? It was, people were buying houses, buying cars, working a 9 to 5. The woman was staying at home, having babies. The original plan of capitalism in the United States, and that's the whole thing. Everything was under control. Aliens come, oh fuck, nope, can't do that shit. People are gonna start getting fucking freaked out about it. In 1947, Roswell, even before that. No, we can't have anything against the norm. No. Straight edges, no rounded edges, no obscure things. That's not how this system works. And then that came around, and it was like, oh shit, you know. So they put the kibosh on it early, you know, marijuana, LSD, psychedelics, whatever, that sort of thing, because they were afraid, because it was a threat to their system.
Well, yeah, they were doing research on that stuff,
right?
10 years before the
because they wanted to control it. They wanted to control LSD for mind control, for MK Ultra to make superhuman, you know, soldiers that they could control.
And the thing is, like, you trust people, right? And the whole MK Ultra stuff, they were just giving it to people without their like knowing.
Right.
Which is
people,
like,
people would get silly and not know why they were all laughing, you know, during drills and stuff,
or like hallucinating and
right.
Yeah, did you ever watch those videos?
Oh yeah, they're hilarious. But the thing is, you know, when you think about it and you boil it down, and people don't believe in the deep state or the conspiracy kind of stuff, and it's, to me, my answer to that is the LSD tests back then, those were real, right? There's scientific proof. There's written documents that was real. There's tons of
people
other...
are still alive from that, too.
There's other tons of shady shit going on through the past that we now know about. So you're telling me that you're aware of that, but you don't believe that in a deep state government that there could be possibly something, benevolent going on. It's benevolent, right? Bad, yeah. Something benevolent going on under the surface. You just think it's all because that's what they want you to believe. That's what they wanted you to believe back in the 40s and 50s and early 60s, is that everything's peachy keen, everything's fine, you know, that sort of thing. So why would there not be an ulterior dark agenda? So I just don't see why some people think it's so far-fetched to believe in conspiracy theories and stuff, because I guarantee you in the next 10 years, people's minds are going to be blown with shit that's going to come out.
Yeah, and like kind of staying with the whole idea of the cookie cutter people, is that helps us produce and consume our environment way easier than if you have a bunch of people who just want to study different things, or you know, go against the norm and do something different, but like they created one sole thing that can't be broken, it appears, is money. And
right.
You have to have it to do anything in order to eat food. Like, you can grow food, but like, where are you going to grow it?
Right.
You have to buy property to grow it, you know,
right.
that type of thing. But I don't understand. I always keep saying I don't understand, which is true, because I don't get why people...
Well, that's what this is for. It's just a way to get the ideas out and talk about it.
Is why people are just okay with saying to themselves or saying to others, well, the reason why I'm a Baptist is because my mother is a Baptist, and so is her mother, and even my father and his father, and I believe that these values are good values, and I want to instill them in my children. Why do you think they're good values?
Right. Because you were told?
Yeah, and then, like, if you really look at anything with a high level of skepticism about why is it the thing you enjoy, and like I said, I really like observing people and just what they like to do, and why is it they like to do that. Like, I can't explain to you why I enjoy tea. It could be why I don't enjoy coffee. Well, somebody would say, well, I think maybe the reason why you enjoy tea is because your family drank tea. Like, that's not true, right? Because my mom drank coffee, my dad drank tea. Well, that's it. Your dad drank tea. Like,
right.
No, I actually tried coffee, and I don't enjoy it at all. We just need to be able to taste to it. Okay, well, I'm supposed to drink a bunch of this shit in order to...
So you're pushing your values onto me because that's what you believe?
Yeah, I enjoy, you know, this sort of thing rather than that sort of thing, but I actually came to it. It's not like I go around saying, I drink tea because my dad drinks tea, and his dad drank tea, and then his dad drank tea, like that, you know, that sort of thing.
Well, and those sorts of things are what contribute to an ego. Those are the basic building blocks of the ego, because, for an example, you know, if you're born into a family that is against guns, you know, that sort of thing, when you get to this age, if you didn't realize and you're just a fucking brainless puppet on any sort of idea or anything like that, then when all this shit going on with gun control and stuff, so your ego kicks in when you get in a heated debate. No, fuck guns, they're fucking bad. But you lived 30 years and you don't understand why you're defending this. It's just because it was ingrained in your brain at a young age. Your parents said no guns in the house. Guns were bad, this and that. And I don't care about people's stances on guns. It's just an easy
Example.
example.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. Those are the basic building blocks of your ego. You never question, wait, why don't I like guns? Or why am I spewing this, nonsense off when I don't really understand it? And I think that's kind of shedding the ego. I think it's breaking down the building blocks of your ego. What is it? And ego, I think, is a good thing. I think the intent is a good thing. It's kind of you.
I guess it's when you let it saturate yourself.
Right, when you become egotistical or when you become narcissistic, that sort of thing, when you make it all about you. But breaking down those building blocks of, what is my ego? Why do I get so defensive about this? Why do I hate social media? Why do I get pissed off when I see people texting? That's my ego coming in with these thoughts and stuff. So I question it. Well, why do I? Okay, now that block's gone out of my ego. I don't have to worry about that. I can worry about a positive thing.
And you can explain it better. So if, like, say for an example, your family was completely against guns, and then you were against guns, and then you broke it down and you realized, oh, this is the reason why I'm against guns. Now you can explain why you're against guns, rather than just saying, oh, because my mom and dad, and then their mom and dad, and so on and so forth, just were against guns, and that's just what I believe in.
Right.
That type of thing. Yeah. I think also too is like, I think that maybe because you and I talk about death a lot, is I think if you understand your own personal death, like you said, it is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. It kind of makes you put things into perspective. It's like, why am I going to waste time worrying about things that I shouldn't worry about, or why would I waste time believing in something that it's truly not at my core? Because like if you do build this ego up to it, like you said, oh, this is the prime time for me to talk about, what I've been indoctrinated into. Is, oh shit, I lost my train of thought. Damn. Well, I don't know, I forgot what I was gonna say, man. I was kind of on a rant there, and like I was thinking about
intrusive thoughts, dude.
What happened was, like, I was thinking about this air conditioner unit, and I was thinking like, man, our first couple episodes, we did them downstairs, the thing, and then I just thought of that, and then as soon as I'm getting to the point, that kicked in. I was like, damn it, I forgot what I was saying. I'll come back to it, but basically, just I guess what I was saying is I don't remember what I was saying. I was just trying to hopefully I can just word it to get there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about it, is just spitballing it and getting these intrusive thoughts out and making sense of them. Because I don't think that the ego is a bad thing. I'm sure there's people that would argue that, and I totally believe in shedding your ego and getting rid of your ego, or at least maintaining it, right? Getting it to a point where you understand it. But I think that's deeper understanding of yourself, because ego is kind of like HBO in our signal or something like that. It's kind of provocative. It's not, because it does in a sense make us who we are, but I think that the soul and the consciousness, and I don't know how all those play together, soul, consciousness, ego, belief, all that kind of crap, how it all intertwines. I think it's all umbrellaed under consciousness, but ego makes people act.
But you know how we talk about like attracts like, is I think to some degree you have to have the ego. Like I said, it's the same side, because the whole idea is to promote the self and dissolve the ego. But you can't really, it's just kind of like flipping like the coin, just have one more bounce over the other.
But being aware of it, I think, is the key.
Because if you have all this sense of, I don't have any sort of ego. Let's say I'm going to use myself for an example. I have no ego. People say, do you do art? No, because I don't want my art being better than anybody else's art. And then like so on and so forth. Is like, you're not really doing anything. Like, you have to have some sort of a little bit of an ego to say to yourself, I think I can do this sort of task better than that person.
Well, that's drive.
Yeah, but you have to have some sort of ego saying like, I'm better than this person at what they do. Or not really, let's say, not actually put the whole thing on the person. I am better at their product that they created. My product will be better than the product that they created, type of thing. So you have to have some sort of, that. And then once you start like thinking about, okay, I can do this better, it just kind of inflates it. But it's kind of like what we were talking about with the whole music thing is is it because of you or is it because of the art? Because once you start thinking it's you,
right.
yeah. Because if it's the art that's being produced, and the art could be your job, let's just say, for example, I'm just using the word art. That's when it actually kind of dissolves the ego a little bit. It's
right.
What you're letting speak for it yourself is the thing that you're outputting, rather than it's not you.
Right. Well, just in Management 101, all the management books, on the kind of the contrary to this, a proper way to address a situation with an employee if they make a mistake, you don't attack the employee as a person, you attack the situation, right?
Yeah.
So that way you take the person out of it, you take emotion out of it, and you talk about the situation. That's kind of like what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not me that I want people to listen to. It's my music, or it's the ideas that are in my head that I think are cool. I don't want people to be, oh, Andrew and Barry are so smart and this and that. It's no. I want you to, the ideas that we talk about. Oh man, I never thought about ego in that way, or I didn't know this about this comic, or take the information and the ideas, not us. We're just vehicles, and that, I mean, as I say that sounds a little egocentric, cliche,
but
philosophical.
I get it. Because if somebody says something like, I listened to your podcast and you guys sound like fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Like, no, what you're thinking is, what we're saying is idiotic.
Yeah.
We ourselves are not idiots.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's an egotistical thing of them to say to us.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and so that's what I run into a lot of problems just in general thought is, I mean, you can get sick running around in circles, am I being egotistical for saying this, or am I being that for doing this? Am I feeling this for doing that? It's kind of a never-ending loop, that whole thing. What's better, black or white? What's better, wrong or right? That sort of thing. But just making sense of it, maybe be able to understand it and make sense to yourself about it.
Well, just like you're saying, is it black or white, or is it right or wrong? That's just kind of on perspective.
Right.
So, somebody else might say like, oh, these guys have the highest level of egotism I've ever seen.
Right.
Whereas somebody else might say, no, they have like zero ego. So I guess it's kind of like our own personal counterbalance is like, if you feel like you're being very egotistical, change. Don't let somebody else say like, hey, you're very egotistical. Take the information, check the source where the information came from. If it's just some random asshole, probably, don't give it much more thought than the words that came out. But it's kind of like that. Have your own, internal measurement of what is egotistical or narcissistic or just something that you would deem negative, and then kind of just adjust from there. It's kind of like if you read your Amazon reviews, right? And it's like, oh, you're a terrible fucking writer. I always like the Amazon reviews that say like shipped wrong. Like, how is that something to do with the book? You're giving this person, this writer, bad reviews based on this. But it's kind of like that. Is like, take into consideration, why didn't they like the book? Is because they didn't understand it? Is because they were coming into it because they were forced to read it, or just whatever it may possibly be. And if it's a good assessment of critique, then go about it that way. But if it's just, okay, this person just doesn't like what I wrote, okay, move on.
Right.
I'm not really an egotistical person. That sort of thing. Because like, you're talking to me the other day about like, how do we know if we're a narcissist or not? Like, am I a narcissist?
Right.
It's like, well, if you're constantly using people for your own personal gain and you don't feel any sort of remorse for it, maybe you're a narcissist, But even questioning yourself, am I this, is good.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of like if you ask somebody to listen to your music, hey, give me your honest opinion on it. You're like, well, I think it needs work and, the chorus. I don't think it's catchy enough, that type of thing.
Right.
Okay, cool. That's
right.
Rather than just
looking for feedback.
Yeah. I think that's the hardest thing is because we can critique things that are external from us. Like I build a chair, or I write a song, or I write a play, or I act in something, and somebody can critique our work. It's really difficult to save people's feelings when you critique themselves.
Right. Yeah. And that's why you should look at it from an objective standpoint.
Yeah. That's why I like looking at things absurdity, like to absurd level. Even like life in general is kind of pretty absurd.
But everyone these days, they react so much on emotion and attack people so much. It's all connected too. It's because the person that's writing stupid posts on Facebook or Twitter. It's their thoughts. So then when they get likes, it's them, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this person liked my picture. This person liked my idea. They like my. Not, oh, this person liked the picture. This person liked the idea. Facebook and social media makes it very personal, very about you. So then in turn, it caused this gigantic ball of just me, knocking the ego and all this kind of shit all over the place. And that's why I think that it's so, everyone is so fucking gets so butthurt about things these days. Everyone is so like thin-skinned, just like, oh my gosh, you said this about someone 2,000 miles away. I'm offended. Everyone takes it so fucking personal, and it's because of social media and all that kind of shit. It's because it made it. Everyone is now more vocal and has more of a personal relationship with things being said and things that are happening because of that social media. There used to be a sense of disconnectedness from things, right? Someone in 50 years ago, America wouldn't have fucking known about these kids that just got rescued out of Thailand. An amazing thing. 12 kids were in a cave for I don't know how long, but the best divers in the world all went there and rescued all 12 of these kids and their coach from a cave. And one of the divers died in the process. But all these kids are rescued. You would never know about this years ago, right? And of course, what do people do? This is rescued. They immediately turn to negative, and there's pictures being drawn of kids in the detention centers in Mexico on the border, and saying over in Thailand, we're rescuing kids like this, but in America like this, because someone brought their personal feelings out about it, but they wouldn't even know about it years ago. Like, why are we like immediate? We want negativity. We want to draw negative. We love the negative energy. We love, being right about nasty things, and it's like everyone is addicted to being negative and being hateful, and it's because the media, it just like pollutes your fucking brain with negativity.
I wonder, when I was thinking about the whole thing, is like, why even bring up the other situation? We'll bring that up when we want to talk about that specific one. Let's talk about these divers, and one guy sacrificed his life to save children. When we're done talking about that one, they're not apples and oranges.
Right. Don't compare them, because you're just downplaying this amazing, crazy feat.
Do you think it's because when you do something negative, or not you, when somebody else does something negative, you can say, I didn't do that, I'm a better person, kind of like the whole ego thing?
Yeah.
So when somebody's like, they post something like something happy, you just wait to see how long.
I got to shit on it. It's not about me. Yeah, it definitely has to do with ego and emotion. It's because people can't be happy. It's so much harder to be happy than it is to be pissed off and angry. Angry and pissed off is so easy. Walk down the street, it's so much easier to pick apart things and say negative than it is positive things. We know as society more negative words than, more negative things than we do more positive things, and that sort of thing. And it's very hard. I mean, it's hard to meditate. Like I've been trying to meditate every morning. It's very hard to stop the intrusive thoughts and be positive and stuff. It's getting easier, but it's very, very hard to stop the negative aura that society and social media and culture have just created. This isn't, and I don't know if it's America in general. Obviously it's not, or obviously it is, because do you think that shit would have happened here? Divers come and save 12 kids?
Probably.
I think it would have been handled a little differently. I think that, I don't know. It's hard to say. That's a stupid thing to hypothesize about.
I know that some other countries are happier, but it's really weird because you either love America or you hate America. Like, I don't know why it's so night and day with us.
Yeah.
They either, like, some countries want to be America, whereas other countries want to be the exact opposite of America, the type of thing. So, like I said, it's kind of like perspective is when somebody saw those divers save those kids, their perspective wasn't, this is good.
Right.
Their perspective was, this is bad, and let me show you why it's bad. Because you're talking, all they saw was children. Let me do something else with children that's negative.
Well, I had a conversation with some people on my float trip about it, and they were like, "They're gonna die. They're gonna die. They're gonna die." Multiple people said, "I'm like,
that's 100% true. Yeah,
I'm
eventually they will die in life.
Yeah, and I was like, "No, they're gonna get saved. There's gonna be something about it that someone's gonna come down and they're gonna figure out a way to save them. Why don't they drill them? Why don't It's easier to just be like, "Oh, they're gonna die." That's just like the negative context that the world has created, in our thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, but they will die.
Yeah,
someday.
We'll all fucking die. Well, our physical bodies will die, and then we'll go back to source.
Probably I told you so. I told you they're gonna die. I told you so.
Yeah, maybe the point of this is to build your consciousness up and your soul up and be very strong, so that when you go back to source, you are a free floating spirit, and you can choose whatever signal you get to go down, or maybe you're more conscious in the next projection of yourself, or you get to keep, maybe just like working out, your muscles get tighter and it gets built together. Maybe knowledge and meditation and all this whatever it is you believe and how strongly you believe in it, or whether it be right or wrong, maybe that's what keeps your shit together, so that when you go back to source, you're just a solid ball, and you'll get all of it on the next one. But if you're not, then you're just kind of like a frilly smoke, cotton, and you just dissipate and pieces of you go other places and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like what they were saying about in the Matrix. Like a certain age, you can't be unplugged because you've been so tied to what this reality is that when you finally get unplugged, you just can't deal with it, and your whole body, you actually die, because it's so much stress and trauma of this completely different world. Maybe that could be it. So like you're preparing yourself for, maybe that's what religious people do. See, maybe they're trying to prepare themselves for heaven, which is like, I don't know, that seems like the wrong way, because you and I aren't really preparing ourselves for an afterlife. We're preparing ourselves for not the whole idea of like no regrets, bro, but just like looking and mitigating regrets, because what we do now in life at 30, there's something that we probably wouldn't regret, right? But when we're 40, you may look like, oh shit, I wish I wouldn't have done that when I was 30. We're going to have regrets, but it's mitigating them as much as possible. Is maybe like that's what you're kind of getting at, like the same lines is going into anti-life after you die, fully prepared. Like you said, you can't lift 50 pounds before, maybe you can, maybe that's your max. You can't lift it repeatedly unless you lift 20 pounds. And so you understand this idea about reality and how you think about it, because when you can handle that, then you just go on to like the next stages of life. Yeah.
It's a lot easier to just give up, not in a sense of your life, but like I think every once in a while I think, I love playing music, but it's just getting really hard right now. Like it would be so easy for me to just sell all my shit, stop playing music, stop doing anything, just go to do my 9 to 5, drink soda, eat shittily. It's so easy. It's all right there. All the nothingness is.
Doesn't that sound awful though?
Oh my God, yeah. But it sounds easy.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it sounds easy sometimes. But all that shit that takes away your integrity and who you are is so easy. It's a lot harder. Musical instruments have went up by price astronomically, and I understand inflation and that sort of thing, but I don't think it's coincidence. I think about it. Those are things. Paintbrushes are more expensive.
Yeah, the brush that I use to ink is $20.
Yeah,
like a brush,
making a movie is expensive. The simple things that could free us and help us find out who we are so expensive. It's expensive to record music.
Yeah.
And it's filled with a bunch of fucking trolls nowadays. You know what is easy though? Is listening to podcasts and watching YouTube videos and reading books and waking the fuck up.
Yeah. I was gonna say one thing though is my roommate and I always joke around about like fuck the status quo. That doesn't lead to a happy life. Finding your passion in life and doing that, kind of self-actualizing who you're supposed to be, like your ikigai, is like, no, dude, The status quo was created to make you happy. Like, I don't know why you're trying to fuck off. Like, it's meant for you to do your 9 to 5, eat soda and shit food, or drink soda and eat shit food. That is actually what provides you a happy life, because these people seem pretty happy, don't they? Like, maybe we should go on Facebook and post about the dumbest shit we could ever possibly imagine to get conditioned to have more of these things because of the likes that we get. Maybe that is the real reason, and we're just like rejecting it.
Right.
Like, no, the status quo is, like, no, man, that's not what makes you get happy in life. And there's like, we're here miserable and everything. Like, like, we never did anything with our music or art, whereas like these people are successful. They have, big houses and a beautiful family, and from our point of view, it just looks like shit. But from their point of view, it's like, I don't know why you did not follow the status quo.
Yeah, but they always have affairs. There's always drugs. There not always, obviously, but there is always something to something.
Yeah.
But as long as I can control my something and I know about it and I'm aware of it, that's fine. I'm seriously, one of these days I'm going to fucking move to an island so I don't have to deal with other people. Because I know people say, oh, don't let other people affect you in that, sort of thing. But there is a certain extent to it, to where it's unavoidable unless you are by yourself and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think it's all about the connection.
Yeah.
I think that's what humans, we used to be very, very connected. We used to know our tribe of like 50 plus. And slowly, like when you go to dance halls, like watch a YouTube video of a dance hall, right? From like the 50s or 40s, and then look at a dance hall now. Like nobody really goes to those. It's just like we slowly keep doing isolated pockets, and
no, they just go and grind
themselves
on each other on the dance floor.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever seen Walk Hard. They kind of like did that.
Oh yeah.
But what I'm trying to get at is it's the longing for connection. So that's maybe why they do drugs, because they need to feel connected to something. Yeah, that's why they have affairs and all that. Yeah,
because technology's taken out human interaction. That's why it feels good. That's why so many people do podcasts, because you're fucking talking,
Yeah.
And of course it's nice to have people listen and give you feedback on it and that sort of thing. Of course it's nice, but it's nice to talk about what the fuck you want to talk about and have human interaction, that's not through text messages and all that kind of stuff.
I was thinking like the next stage, actually when I was texting, I don't really care for texting. I actually really, really dislike it when it's a conversation, when it's like what you and I would do, just like little quippets of stuff. Like, that's perfectly fine. But when it goes all fucking day, I get really annoyed by it, because it's kind of like taking up my time. Is like, that's the next stage of communication.
Right.
Is not texting, is I may do something with my hands like this, right? I know the listeners probably can't hear or see what I'm doing, obviously. But if I move my hands like side to side, you can kind of get like, oh, maybe he's talking about shaky foundation. Like you get more context from it. And then the way that my face moves is like, communication is not just words itself.
And it feels good to see other people and talk to other people and be around other people. It's a better feeling than looking at bullshit technology and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Is that it?
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. It's narcissistic to think people are listening.
Well, people are listening.
Instagram, you can find us on Instagram if you're listening. Instagram,
Twitter,
Spotify, reality, or podcast.com.
iTunes, subscribe.
Email us.
Yeah. What's the email again?
Reality or podcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, did anybody send anything?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no reviews, nothing like that.
Hopefully they'll start sending in something.
Yeah, even if it's bad.
If they don't intentionally do bad shit, but if there's a bad one, I'm gonna read it on here.
Yeah. Or if you have ideas of topics that maybe I don't know, maybe
or concerns about what you think about death and what you think about,
or maybe like once if we get some people actually into this thing, we could start doing like callers or something.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Just have questions or stuff like that.
Yeah. But chime in. This is what we're doing it.
Yep.
All right, see you later. Adios, amigos.